You are listening to A Difference for One podcast, episode number 3.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Charisse.
And I'm Cammie.
We are the English sisters.
We come together to share life-changing methods of improvement and invite others to make a difference.
Our podcast is focused on a variety of topics. If we're only able to inspire one person during this journey, that's okay, because we'll know we made a difference for one.
Can you believe how crazy it is right now? This time that we are living in, it seems like emotions can go in so many different directions with how unpredictable our lives are. The whole world, in case you guys didn't know, has been put on hold, and people have such strong feelings one way or another about what's going on with the coronavirus. There are phrases that are being said right now that I can't even remember the last time I heard, or if ever, like unprecedented times, shelter in place, quarantine, social distancing. I don't know about the rest of you, but we are so tired with everything that's going on with this virus.
Yeah, it can be easy to get caught up in the negative of everything that's going on. I know sometimes I'll find myself thinking, okay, I just got to get through this. Or what can I do to fill this time? Or block out the emotions. I know some people have a hard time with things like overeating or taking long naps, drinking, endlessly scrolling on social media. Or you may feel like you have plenty of time and then you look up and realize your whole day went by and all you did was watch 7 episodes of The Office. Or maybe you find yourself spinning in an endless cycle of worry. It's okay to feel and experience every feeling we're feeling, but we also have to remember that worrying is not productive. 80% of the things we worry about don't ever even happen. And if they do end up happening, you suffer twice because you suffer when you worry about them and when they actually happen. I feel like I have to ask myself when I do that, how are these thoughts serving me? What's something that might be more productive to focus on instead? And yeah, some days are definitely worse than others, but when I do have a bad day, I just have to lie down at night knowing that I'm going to pick myself up tomorrow and try again.
Yeah, I feel like whenever I think of the word worry, I remember the phrase that my husband always says, "We will cross that bridge when we get to it." Worry and what-if statements rob us of truly enjoying the present moment. Saying we will cross that bridge when we get to it has really helped me to stop overanalyzing every possible situation before they even exist. When we worry, we allow our minds to focus on the past or the future, not the present. Focusing on the present is the only time frame we have control over. In my studies, I have learned that dwelling on past creates depression. Dwelling on the future creates anxiety. We need to give our minds a little bit of peace and grace by allowing ourselves to take a deep breath and return to the 5 senses. What do your surroundings feel like? What do they smell like? What do they sound like? When you're focused on the present, you allow yourself to be grounded and prepared for anything that may come your way. Focus on what you can control and take a deep breath. Right now is the time to make the right choices for you and your family and then act on them.
Yeah, so let's talk about how we can cope with what we're going through and stay positive through all this. So here we are over a month into quarantine, and it's a good time to stop and reflect and ask yourself, how is it going so far in your life? If you're like most of us, you've had some productive days and some not so productive days. Days when things look optimistic and days when things feel like you're lost in confusion and worry and overwhelm. If you felt these things, you're not alone. We want to talk today about how you can make the most of the month or more that you have left in quarantine with all of the rest of us. I think we can all agree that when we come out the other side of this, we will all be different in some way. So we get to choose what that looks like for each of us. Are we going to look back on this time and have fond memories of the time that we had together with our families? Are we going to reflect on the big goals and dreams that we had and we achieved during this time? or the small list of tasks that we accomplished and feel good about what we did during this time? Or are we going to look back and wish that we took more advantage of the seemingly endless hours we have on our hands? So, here are some things that have helped us get through these times. The main focus we want to talk about today is how taking care of yourself first is so important. If you think about being on an airplane and the flight attendant is teaching you to put your oxygen mask on first before you help your neighbor or your loved one, that's the same kind of concept here. If you focus on the things that you can do right and that you can improve upon, you're much more in a position to help others through these trying times as well.
So, we wanted to read off a list. This is a list of things that happy people do. And this list was originally made by a woman named Kate Bratskier, but most of us heard it from Hank Smith. He quoted it, and he's quoted it a few different times in different settings. And so I'll just go down and read this list of things that happy people do. And it doesn't say whether this is if you're happy, then you will naturally want to do these things, or if these things bring happiness. But regardless, the research has shown that these are things happy people do. So I'm going to first read off the list, and then we're going to go a little more in depth with each of them. So the first thing is that happy people surround themselves with other happy people. Joy is contagious, and people are 4 times more likely to be happy in the future when they have happy people around them. The second thing is that happy people try to be happy. When happy people don't feel happy, they cultivate a happy thought and they smile about it. The third thing is that happy people spend money more on others than they spend on themselves. Givers experience what scientists call the quote-unquote helper's high. The fourth thing is that happy people have deep in-person conversations. Sitting down to talk about what makes a person tick is a good practice for feeling good about life. The fifth thing is that happy people use laughter as medicine. A good old-fashioned chuckle releases lots of good neurotransmitters. A study actually showed that children on average laugh 300 times a day versus adults who only laugh about 15 times a day, which is a crazy statistic. The sixth thing is that happy people use the power of music. Researchers found that music can match the anxiety-reducing effects of massage therapy. The seventh thing is that happy people exercise and eat a healthful diet. Eating a poor diet can contribute to depression. The eighth thing is that happy people take the time to unplug and go outside. Uninterrupted screen time can actually bring on depression and anxiety. The ninth thing is that happy people get enough sleep. When people run low on sleep, they're more prone to feel a lack of clarity, have bad moods, or feel poor judgment. And the 10th and final thing is that happy people are spiritual. I really love that list of things to do because it's a way that you can create your own happiness. And of course, there are extenuating circumstances, like if you have clinical depression, maybe where medicine is necessary to help your brain function properly. There's only so much that you can do, but these are ways that can be beneficial in elevating the way that you're experiencing your life. So, of course, the goal here is not to be happy all of the time. We are naturally going to experience the negative side too. We just want to create a more wholesome experience. But the point is that we can be aware that we get to choose. And so we're going to now break down a little bit these points and talk about them a little more.
Yeah, so the first point was that happy people surround themselves with other happy people and that joy is contagious. Hopefully, the loved ones that you're spending lots of time with are people that you really enjoy being around and truly love. That may not always be the case. There might be people surrounding you that are really struggling right now, and that might be hard to be around. But the good news is that you get to choose how you feel and that you can show forth extra love and support for anyone that might be going through a hard time. Hopefully, in turn, they will be pleasant as well, but if not, that's okay. Let them go ahead and feel their feelings and love them anyway through it.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that while you do want to surround yourself with happy people because their joy is contagious on you, you can also choose to be the happy one whose joy is contagious on others.
Exactly.
So the second point is that happy people try to be happy, and when they don't feel happy, they cultivate a happy thought and smile about it. So we thought this would be the perfect opportunity to walk you through the thought cycle really quickly with a specific example. And if you don't remember much about that or don't know much about it, go back to our second episode and we talk about that in a lot of depth in that episode. So the thought cycle is one way for us to purposefully work at being happy. And Michelle had a friend who had a good example that we thought could work here. Her friend is having to homeschool and work from home at the same time. And I like that example because I'm sure a lot of people are having to do that right now. So the situation is that she is homeschooling and working from home. A negative thought about this could be that it's too hard. And so then she would feel overwhelmed. The effort that she might put into that is shutting out what's going on or acting angry or frustrated with her daughter or coworkers. And then the negative outcome that might come from that is a strained relationship with her daughter and not getting productive work done. So, the way that we can turn this into a positive thought cycle is to change it to a positive thought. And when you're doing this for your own self, you're the only one who can come up with these answers of how to change it into a positive thought cycle. But this is just an example. So, a positive thought that she might have about her situation is my relationship with my daughter is the most important thing. And so having that thought might cause her to feel connected and feel more love for her daughter. So then she would put in more positive effort by being intentional in her relationship with her daughter. And the outcome would be that she would bond with her daughter and be closer with her. So in both situations, the thought that you have, whether negative or positive, proves itself true in the cycle. As you have a negative thought, your cycle is going to produce negative outcomes and vice versa. But you have to remember that you can't focus your thought cycle around what other people are doing because those things are under their realm of control. You have to focus only on the things that you can control and work on that.
Yeah. So the third point is that happy people spend money more on others than they spend on themselves. We four sisters have a wonderful mother who is very giving and generous. And we have seen this throughout our lives where she is always spending money on others. And anyone that might be in need of something, she's the first one to give a handout. And that's something that we all really look up to her and want to be more like her in. So whether you have extra money at this time to spend on others or not, you can find ways to serve and uplift others. This can be the best way to calm some of your worries and anxieties over your situation is to think about others for a while. It doesn't have to be anything big or important or flashy. You could just go out and pick up trash with your kids or text someone you haven't talked to in a while and see how they're doing. My kids today painted rocks and baked cookies that they want to deliver to people. Last week, we did a drive-by happy birthday parade for a friend that we couldn't do a birthday party for. There were about 12 cars that lined up and honked horns and screamed and shouted and had balloons out the windows and things like that. And she was overjoyed when she came out and saw what everybody had done for her. So it can be little things like complimenting people around you, saying thank you to your family that are doing kind things for you, or big things. The list can go on and on. I love this website called Pennies of Time that gives you lots of ideas of things that you can do to serve others and teach that to your kids to be a natural thing that they are learning growing up to serve.
I love that you talked about the drive-by happy birthday parade because here in the small town that I live in Idaho, every Saturday they drag Main Street. And for those of you who didn't live in the 60s and 70s as a teenager,
I didn't.
None of us did. You probably haven't even heard of Dragging Main Street, but it was a huge deal back then where the teenagers would drive their cars up and down Main Street and blare their music and let their feet hang out the window and just be super crazy. And that's what they did just on a Friday night. So
That's cool.
Here, every Saturday night during this quarantine, everybody is just going up and down Main Street like a parade, just honking their horns like crazy. We even did it for congratulating the seniors, where we just did a full circle around the football field and we just drove round and round and round, and it was so fun.
Oh, I love that because I'm so sad for the the seniors in high school that don't get to go to prom and go to graduation and all of those things that you look forward to your last year in high school.
The fourth point that we have on the list is having deep in-person conversations. And obviously the in-person part is a little more difficult right now. Can't do that with people you normally would. But I have noticed in my own life that having deep conversations with people close to me, we are able to do that more with modern technology. And that is something that has been really beneficial for me. I find that it's kind of like a breath of fresh air when I'm able to talk about things that matter to me, to people who are close, or when I'm able to be vulnerable or just really delve in more than just the surface level how are yous. And so that's one way that I've found throughout all of this in feeling more happy.
The fifth thing is that happy people laugh. Sometimes I just take myself way too seriously, but when I let myself let go and just have tickle fights with my kids or laugh at the things that they think are funny, then I feel my emotions bubble up and the negative ones will leave me and go away. And I really do feel a lot happier when I laugh, especially when I laugh with my kids, because their childlike innocence is so contagious.
The sixth aspect was happy people use the power of music. Music is my thing. I use it for everything. It alters my mood and I just love it so much. So we would suggest to you guys to listen to music when you clean or do a mindless task. Dance around your kitchen with your family. I have a friend who was getting bored one day, and so I told her over the phone, turn on some music and dance around the kitchen with your kids. And she said, what? I would
It's
never
so
do
fun,
that.
though.
And that's
It's
so
so fun.
Oh,
yeah, but that was just so foreign to me that she had never done that before, because we do it on the daily in my house. We turn on the Pandora station, Happy Radio, because there's always a good song on there that's appropriate for my kids. And not a single song comes on that I don't like. And it just changes my whole atmosphere in my home. We're just all lighter and brighter. And I just love it.
We're the same way. I like the Happy Radio on Pandora as well, but I also really like Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. I love good classic oldies to dance around the kitchen and just I have fun with my kids and introduce them to all the old songs they probably wouldn't be introduced to any other way.
Or if you don't have kids like me, it is very therapeutic to have a good jam sesh all by yourself.
So the seventh thing is that happy people exercise and eat a healthy diet. Eating a poor diet can contribute to depression. So along with this, listening to Hank R. Smith talk about these 10 habits, he talks about how when he was a little boy, his dad would make them get up early on Saturday mornings and work all day long and just be busy and active. And that when he'd hit the pillow at night, he'd be exhausted from all of the hard work that he would be doing. And so his mom, in contrast, if there was a day when his dad wasn't home on a Saturday, she would let the kids relax and have kind of a lazy day and do whatever they wanted. And he realized that he was much happier when he was working hard and having a productive day. To go to bed exhausted from working hard was way better than going to bed exhausted because you didn't do anything. Because have you ever noticed how, like, if you watch TV or something for long periods of time and you're just exhausted and you didn't really do anything? So there's a big difference between that working hard tired and that unproductive tired. So exercise and a healthy diet are a big part of that. For me, a big thing recently has been to cut out sugar. I have noticed that having a lot of sugary foods really is hard on my body. And so I have really tried hard to have natural sugars in fruits and things like that and cut back on sugar. And I've noticed a huge boost in my energy levels and the way that I feel. It's been amazing.
One thing to add to that is that you don't need a gym to work out. That may be an excuse for some people that since the gyms are closed, this is their time to kind of chill. But I have found that there are a ton of people on different social media platforms, specifically Instagram for me, that I've seen who have been posting all these workout videos and those types of things. And they've been helpful for me because it'll just be maybe 5 minutes and it's something quick that I know I can do without having to set apart an hour of my time to do something active. Along with that, too, it's really important to do activities throughout your day that create energy rather than depleting it. So there are certain things that will give you more energy. So when you follow the spirit, that helps you feel more energized. Maybe if you are still commuting, if you have to commute to work or if you're driving anywhere else, you could use that time for energy creation, where maybe you're listening to something that creates energy, like a podcast that helps you feel motivated.
I also find that saying positive affirmations while you're in the shower can create lots of energy.
Yeah, that's a good one. Also connecting with your family, like if you're working from home, you could take little breaks throughout that time, connect with your family. That's something that can create energy as well. So you could ask yourself, what kind of activities energize me? You could maybe write some of those things down, and how can I schedule those activities throughout my day? If you wanted, you could also write down what kind of activities deplete your energy and then how you could do fewer of those activities.
One of the things that I've been practicing lately is intermittent fasting because my digestive tract needs a little extra time to get things moving along. And I am really grateful for the time frame of not eating from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. It has really saved the way that I eat food and the way that I digest food. And I also think it's really important to drink half of your body weight in ounces of water a day. So for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, you should drink 75 ounces of water a day.
Yeah, I've found that when I don't drink water, I feel hungry a lot more often, but it's just because my body doesn't realize that I'm actually thirsty. I'm better about drinking water than I don't overeat.
So the 8th thing that's on the list is that happy people take time to unplug and go outside. I don't know if any of you can relate, but lately I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing, and I am currently not working because of all of the COVID-19 situation, and all of my schooling is at home. And we live in a basement, so we actually don't get very much sunlight down here. And so when I find myself spending hours and hours playing Animal Crossing or watching Hulu or whatever it may be, it really makes a difference in the way that I feel. So something that Tanner, my husband, and I have been trying to do, we try to get out every single day and go for a walk. Sometimes we will put a blanket outside and play cards, but we do try every day to go on a walk. And I really make an effort to look up at the sky when I do that so that I can really stay present in, okay, I'm outside in the fresh air. Even if the sun is blinding, I can get through this because it will make me feel happier. And it does every time.
I love that idea of looking up at the sky. I don't think I would have thought of that.
Yeah, I think we're so used to, even when we're trying not to look at our screens or look at our phones, we are so used to looking down, looking at our feet or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that does make a difference. But I just want to make a quick plug so that those who are listening remember that no one is perfect and none of us are doing all of these things all at once. But these are things that have been helpful for us. And so we have tried to pick the areas that were weakest and try to make small adjustments every day. And I encourage that you guys to do the same, but don't feel bad if you're taking smaller steps than you expected or than you might want to be. Again, there are going to be good days and bad days, but don't get down on yourself for those down days. Just look forward, keep moving forward from there.
And look up at the sky. The other thing I was going to say about going outside, when I heard Hank Smith give a seminar about this, he said that at least 20 minutes is the magical number, that you want to be outside for at least 20 minutes. And he was like, I don't mean just walking from your house to your car to the grocery store to your car and back into your house again. That doesn't count. He's like, you have to make intentional effort to be outside and not just getting from one place to another, but to just enjoy nature and enjoy time outside, even if it's cold.
Yeah, for me, it's the hardest on those cold, wintry days.
For sure.
Can we get a hallelujah that it's not January and we're experiencing this? Because it would be so hard. Another thing that I think is key to talk about is that this is a great time to make a list of all the things that you've always told yourself, I don't have time to do. I sat down and made this list with my husband on Sunday, and some of the things on there were making photo books of our kids. We don't have a will in place for our kids, and that's been really important for us to want to do that, and organizing our important documents and putting them in a fireproof safe. So those could be things on your list, or if you have a new habit you want to create, if you feel like you need to update your resume or learn a new skill, if you've been interested in writing a book or taking an online class, this is the time to make a list of a bunch of little tasks that need to get done or one big goal that you really want to work on. You might have more time now than you ever have before.
And if you want to write a book, reach out to me, Charisse, and I will hook you up with the best writing coach on the planet. I am a coach with her program, Calliope Writing Coach. It is awesome. Writing a book is a good idea.
And I was going to say, Brent and I decided to make a big playhouse out of wood for our kids. And it's been fun to do it together, even though sometimes I get frustrated with myself with my lack of construction skills. But our kids are loving it, and we're enjoying doing that activity together. So it's something that we might not have done if this weren't going on right now.
Yeah, and one more thing that I thought of was making videos of everything in our house, which is something that my homeowner's insurance guy told me to do. He was like, if your house burns down, we're going to give you a pen and a piece of paper and be like, okay, write down everything you had. And you would be surprised how hard it is to remember everything that you have accumulated through the years. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that could be on your list of things, like to go through all the bedrooms and all of your stuff and do a video list of everything that you would want to be recuperated by insurance if it all went up in flames.
Wow.
On that pleasant note, the ninth thing on the list is that happy people get enough sleep. And I think one of the most key parts of that is to be prepared for your morning. So something that I've heard many times throughout my life from different teachers, mentors, whoever I was listening to, is how important it is not to snooze your alarm, because snoozing your alarm, that's the first step in your day. You're kind of already setting yourself up for failure, and you're teaching yourself that negotiating with yourself is acceptable.
Yeah, so I love the quote, early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Benjamin Franklin said that. And along with that, the last couple of years, have really loved this book called Miracle Morning, or there's a more Christian version called Latter-day Morning. And his concept is to get up an hour before your kids would, or an hour before you really need to start getting into your day, and take some time to meditate and say affirmations. Visualize what your day ideally could look like. Spend time in prayer, read scripture, exercise, do some sort of learning. Like, is there a skill that you've been wanting to learn? Practice a foreign language, or read a book that is exercising your brain to learn something new. And then the last thing would be journaling in general, or having a gratitude journal. Write down a few things that you are grateful for every day can really help you to focus on the positive. So that's something that I started a couple of years ago, and it has changed my life like nothing else. I feel like no matter what else I do in my day, if I follow these things and do these things, I've had a productive day in the first hour of my day. And I have been such a happier person getting up earlier. I used to be a night owl and used to sleep until I had to drag myself out of bed. And if you've never been a morning person, it is the way to go. It is amazing getting up early and feeling tired and exhausted when it's time time to go to bed at night. So since COVID-19 and my kids being home all the time and things like that, they've been staying up later and I've been staying up later. And so it's been harder for me to get up in the morning because I don't have that timestamp of when we need to get out the door to get them off to school. So I'm not perfect at it, but I do know that it's something that I love and I want to get back to it and make that goal to get up early and start my day off right.
When you mentioned journaling, I remembered something that one of my friends taught me. She is getting her doctorate in this kind of stuff. And she said that just acknowledging the things that you're grateful for gives you a natural hit of dopamine in your brain. And that's going to make you feel happier.
I love all of this because it makes me want to keep to my schedule and wake up every day and get dressed, look pretty, and feel good about myself. I want to read my scriptures every day. I want to improve any part of my routine or schedule that's not working for me or my family. I love that you mentioned those things, Michelle. Something that I also do is schedule in time to connect with myself emotionally. I schedule it on my phone for 15-minute block where nothing else can interrupt that time. I do a few minutes of meditation and visualization to get myself grounded, centered, and focused on what I hope is the Lord's intent for me for that day.
That's cool.
Sometimes I add my family to my visualization and check in to see how my relationship is with them on a more spiritual or emotional level. But it's really important for me to do this because I make sure that I get that connection that only takes like 5 or 10 minutes to then move forward with the rest of my day. And if I do it, then I have more time for my family because I feel like I've got those few minutes for myself at the beginning of my day.
That's awesome. So the 10th and final point that he made was that happy people are spiritual. And to me, this is the most important thing, is to really connect with God. I am naturally a very spiritual person and feel like I have a great relationship with God and Jesus Christ. And that's really important to me. I feel like this time could be a wake-up call for anyone that feels like they have work in that area, that you could really take this time to connect with God. And we can all improve in this area. I feel like we all have room to grow in our relationship with Him. And it's something that is so crucial to our happiness in the way that I view things. And another portion of that, I feel like love of God and having a strong family unit go hand in hand. And so I am really loving this time when I'm watching my children form really strong bonds with each other because they're with each other so much that they may not have gotten in any other way. Yes, there are times when they fight and quarrel because they're with each other all the time. But I feel like the good times by far outweigh the bad. And I just love watching those simple moments of them all jumping on the trampoline together or swinging on the swings and just really enjoying time with each other. Of course, they are sad that they're not in school. They miss their friends. They miss the normalcy of life and us being busy and getting to go places. But we are trying to make up for it by doing movie nights and game nights and painting each other's toes and fingernails and dance parties and just trying to make it fun and engaging for them. So something to think about as far as our children goes is that they can have some really big emotions through all of this. They might be hearing negative things from outside influences. And so it's helpful for them to be taught how to differentiate between fact and theory and point out to them that a lot of people right now are acting in fear, but they get to choose their own thoughts. They get to choose how they feel about these things so they can be intentional about those things. And that this is a great time to learn to use a lot of kindness within our families, to respect each other. And I've noticed that that becomes easier to do as we are limiting our screen time as the parents and as the kids, and they connect with each other better. And I just feel like they are happier when they're not spending tons of time on their screens. And that's one area that we could do better about, but I do see the benefit in it.
I love what you said about helping them learn to differentiate between fact and theory. My kids are a lot younger than yours, and I just wouldn't have thought to teach my kids that. That's really cool.
Yeah, they need it.
So, as you're all listening to all of this, it may, for some of you, feel like it only applies to those who have had kind of easier lives. And this is maybe one of the bigger things that they've had to go through. But even if not, especially for those who have had horrific and hard lives with really hard pasts, the blessings that can come from this COVID experience apply. And I like to think that those who have had more negative experiences have a greater chance of feeling more immense joy because they've seen the lowest lows and are able to see the highest highs.
I love that.
But the most important thing that we hope that everyone is getting out of this whole experience is that you're able to create habits that bring you closer to your higher power, whatever that may look like. And so let this be a wake-up call for you, whether it's to create new habits physically, to create better relationships with the people who are closest to you, or to just let this be an opening avenue for you to grow more spiritually. Something that I have been thinking about lately, I learned from Rachel Hollis, who she's an author, motivational speaker, influencer, all of the things. She talks about how important it is to schedule joy into your day. It sounds like we're talking a lot about scheduling, but really you need that structure when things are so relaxed. It can help you feel better. So she talks about how you should make a list, sit down for a few minutes and write down a list of at least 15 things that bring you joy in your life. They can be small, simple things like maybe in the morning looking out your window and seeing the trees, maybe listening to the birds while you're eating your favorite cereal, or maybe it's larger, like you just love Hawaii. Whatever they may be, there are going to be some things on that list that you can't do right now probably because of being quarantined, but there are probably things on there that you could schedule into your day every day. And if they're bigger things like that you love Hawaii, are there parts of Hawaii that you could pull into your home and make more exciting for yourself? So she also talks about how it's okay to grieve the loss of what was. And for us, that right now, that'll probably look like the things that we did before the quarantine that we're not able to do right now. But the faster that we're able to see that what is going on right now is for us, the faster that we can see that there is goodness in this and the faster that we can find joy. And I love that she says that you can hold joy and grief at the same time. In my mind, that just really creates a more wholesome experience. And she says that it's not hard to be joyful. It's just a lot easier to feel negative emotion. So if you schedule that joy, then you're much more likely to feel it. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was another idea. You could make a list of your best moments ever. And so if you think back on your life, thinking about the most positive memories that you have, you could write out a list of those things and you could keep it ongoing. Every time you are caught up in a moment that just feels really precious, you could add it to that list. And then when you're going through a hard time, that's a good place to go to. You can look at that list and really feel those moments.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's making me think of some of my best moments, and you guys are definitely in there.
Yes.
We wanted to end with a quote by Linda S. Reeves. She said, "I do not know why we have the many trials that we have, but it is my personal feeling that the reward is so great, so eternal and everlasting, so joyful and beyond our understanding, that in that day of reward we may feel to say to our merciful, loving Father, was that all that was required?" I believe that if we could daily remember and recognize the depth of that love our Heavenly Father and our Savior have for us, we would be willing to do anything to be back in their presence again, surrounded by their love eternally. What will it matter, dear sisters, what we have suffered here, if in the end those trials are the very things which qualify us for eternal life and exaltation in the kingdom of God with our Father and Savior? That quote really puts things into perspective for me, that in hindsight and when all is said and done, we're going to look back on all the heartache and the difficult times that we've experienced in this life and ask if that was all that was required, because the reward that we will receive will be so much greater than anything we can even imagine, that we'll feel like everything we experienced in this life was nothing if what we get is so amazing.
We are so happy to share our thoughts with you guys. We hope that something we said may have benefited you, or that you may be able to apply a new concept to your lives. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. If it resonates with you, the greatest compliment you could give is to share it with a friend who might benefit from it as well. Check out A Difference for One on Instagram for additional content. And if you have any questions, comments, a topic you'd like to hear about, or if you'd be interested in a free mini coaching session, send an email to adifferenceforone@gmail.com.